Continuing with our bias and fallacy series, number 7, selective exposure bias. This bias is amazing. Now, when I say it's amazing, I don't mean I support or don't support it. The point is, not every bias we talk about here is negative. Now, it's not that biases are negative in itself. It's just for you to recognize when you fall into them. For instance, I fall into selective exposure bias a lot. Now, how do I fall into that? I had polio when I was 1 year, 6 months, so I use crutches and I work with calipers. The point is, I've had enough stress in my life and enough issues that I don't want negative people around me. I don't want people who are complaining. No matter how bad the government or somebody is, I just don't want you to keep telling me about it. Unless you are giving me a solution. Fuel is high. What's the solution? Do you want us to change the government? Or do you want us to, find electric car? What is that? Don't tell me this government, this. I don't want to hear, because it traumatizes me. I want solution. If you are bringing solution, I can listen. But if it is just complaint, I hate it with passion. So what I want to say about this is that while this is a bias, is negative. It can also be positive for you if you decide how you want to use it. In other words, I want to say that you understand the positive side of a bias, the negative side of a bias. Because when we keep saying bias, it appears as if every bias is bad. Now, we are all biased in different ways and in different things. So don't allow it to be like, oh, I'm suffering from this bias. No, the reason you are in one religion and you are not in the other is because you are biased. So you're biased thinking that your religion is better. If you think your religion is not better, you will change immediately. Yeah, so that's that. The reason you're in one occupation and not another is that probably your feel for that occupation, the reason you are with this man or that woman as husband or wife, is because you feel that this is the best man or this is the best woman. You may not feel that this is the best that can happen to you, but for now you feel that. That's why you see some people, when they make more money, they go and marry a different kind of wife, or they divorce their husband and go and marry. So we all suffer from bias, just to correct the impression that bias as if it's something so wrong. So I'm suffering from this selective exposure bias. Now, in the way I've mentioned at the beginning, okay, not in everywhere. Selective exposure bias is the tendency to seek out information, seek out environment, education, exposure, and all such things, and even people that reinforce what you already believe while avoiding those that challenge you. So in simple terms, you choose what you are exposed to, and then that exposure shapes what you think is true. Okay? So your reality becomes filtered before you even begin to evaluate it. Have you ever had a discussion with your mom or your dad about something and they're so dogmatic about it because they've not been exposed to the other side? So this brings us to real life, application. In business, a leader surrounds themselves with people who think like them, albeit unconsciously. They follow industry voices that agree with their perspective. They read reports that support their strategy. They attend conversations, seminars, and conventions that, validate their ideas. Over time, it feels like they are right because everything around them confirms that they are right. They've not been exposed to the other part. But what is missing is not intelligence. What is missing is not knowledge. Now, it is contradiction. You need to find the opposite of what you believe. So when reality eventually pushes back, the adjustment feels sudden and painful. You feel like, you are taken out of water. In entrepreneurship, this shows up when founders only listen to positive feedbacks about the ideas. Whenever it is about the wrong review, they want to remove their eyes and they want to explain that out. They stay in circles where encouragement is constant, but critical, insight is absent. The result is confidence without correction. The same in relationship. Selective exposure bias, appears in different ways. You may speak only to people who validate your side of a conflict. Go online, you will see. To a husband and wife quarrels, and you see they have their different fans online. These fans do not want to listen to this other guy's idea. The fans of the guy do not want to listen to the woman's, part of the story. You avoid conversations that, that may challenge your perspective. So your version of the story becomes stronger. It's not stronger because it is more accurate. It is stronger because it's less tested. The other side of the story is hindered, is stopped, is not allowed to come to the fore. So how do you correct this selective exposure bias? The first step is to intentionally diversify your inputs. In other words, intentionally diversify what you see, what you hear, what you listen. Now in business, listening to people who disagree with your strategy, reading perspectives that challenge your assumptions, creating space for honest feedback, not comfortable feedback. That's one way to save yourself in in business. But in relationship, it means being willing to hear perspectives that do not immediately support you. If you're quarreling with your husband, your wife, your business partner, that person that doesn't always support you, maybe your father, your mother, who doesn't always say, you are right, that guy should be killed, that woman should be killed. Try to talk to them about this. Now, you're not talking to them to weaken your position, but you want to refine it. You want to use the black hat to see what I'm saying. If it's scrutinized, can it hold? That's what you are trying to say. You are asking that question. Yes? What am I not seeing because of where I am looking? So selective exposure bias is powerful because it feels like I'm right, only that they're not understanding me, because everything I see proves that I'm right. But when your inputs are narrow, your conclusion will be narrow too. You know that. Now, you need to expand what you allow yourself to see and hear. When you do that, your thinking will become more complete. Your decisions will broaden and become more balanced. Then, your outcomes will improve, because no matter how you lie to yourself, your outcome will tell you the truth. Sometimes, you see, growth is not about thinking harder. Growth is not about working harder. Growth is not about even learning harder. Growth is about seeing the wider perspective and then understanding what are in the different angles that you have, bracketed out. That's one important way to actually solve selective bias or selective exposure bias. See you in the next one.